Morning, it's great to be back with you. Today is Wednesday, June 21st, 2023. Well, this is a good sale week. We have each of the four metals are lower this week. Some of them are really oversold rather. Silver primarily down 5% for the week. I think there's a great short-term opportunity there for silver. We'll have a longer article coming out shortly about silver IRAs and why now is a good time for silver. But today I want to primarily talk more about palladium. We've talked a little bit about it a couple weeks ago, and I want to round that out today. Palladium also has a good long-term opportunity setting up right now. We have palladium down approximately 58 to 60% from its high point within a couple years ago. And we also have some things developing in the market overseas. You know, one of the companies that produces 40% of palladium is a company called Nornickel. They're a Russian company. Most of their operations are in the Siberian area of Russia. And oddly enough, they were not a company that was sanctioned with all the sanctions that happened. Probably because 40% of palladium that's produced is produced by them. So I think maybe world leaders recognize that, you know, to keep the world functioning, we need palladium. But in any event, they've put out a report. They've had to modify their report for 2023 by 600,000 ounces. So there's movement going on in the economy. Now, something to keep in mind when it comes to metals is China is the world's largest consumer and user of metals, especially industrial metals right now. So China has seen a 12.7% increase in retail sales at the end of May, year over year. That's a huge amount. And industrial production in China has grown by 3.5%. So the factories are starting to crank back up again in China. And that's indicating that perhaps things will not be as everyone thought they might be in 2024. One reason that palladium has come down to the level that it is now is the previous thinking was that there was going to be a surplus of palladium by 300,000 ounces in 2024. Keep in mind they've had to modify the deficit they expected for this year by 600,000 ounces in the last 5 months. So what that tells us is it's really hard to project what's going to happen with palladium, even for the industry leaders such as Nornickel. A lot of these numbers that are being changed, they're having to change it themselves, being the world's largest producer of palladium. So the point to this is the price of palladium is currently a lot farther from the high point than it is from the low point. So even if we do see, and some are calling for possible lower prices in palladium, they won't go much lower. And when we compare what the trough of the curve is compared to the peak of the curve, palladium is a lot closer to the trough than it is to the peak. So what I'm saying by that is keep your eye there. There may be some real opportunity. Now also keep in mind palladium is one of the most volatile of the four metals that we mainly cover here at the United States Gold Bureau. So you want to think of it as an allocation of just a little bit as if it's a risky growth stock that does perform really well sometimes. So keep that in mind when you're making those allocations, but it's certainly one you should consider. And with all the uncertainty, if China continues to do well in their economy, we could see those numbers for palladium revised again for 2024. Like I say, they've had to revise them by 600,000 ounces for 2023. So that shows you the level of uncertainty and when it comes to making projections. And let's say those projections are off. Let's say that the reason why, well, this is true, one of the reasons why palladium is lower right now is because people were projecting a surplus in 2024. Well, what if those economy numbers continue to keep growing in China? Industrial production continues to increase, retail continues to increase. That surplus could quickly turn to a deficit, because we're only talking about a 300,000 ounce number for 2024. It's already been changed by 600,000 ounces for 2023, and we're only halfway through the year. So my point is, keep palladium in mind, even if just for a small portion of your metals portfolio, it could turn out to be a big winner for all of us. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again soon.